Welcome back to Extra Dirt, the podcast designed to help you and your life group put down deeper roots relationally and spiritually. There's a lot going on in this week's sermon, and I want to highlight some of them because very often we don't consider the fact that there is a spiritual realm out there. In fact, I had a friend this week say to me, he said, sometimes I just forget that God is spirit. God isn't like flesh and blood like us. Jesus took on flesh when he came to earth and he lived a human life, but God the Father does not walk around in a human body, and for him, reality is not confined to our sense of the here and now. And so as we approach God, we approach him as one who is a spirit being, and we also understand that there is a spiritual reality. There is a conflict here where Satan and the demonic forces oppose God, and it is not an equal battle. It's not like Satan is giving Jesus a run for his money. The victory is already actually won, and God is infinitely more powerful as the one who even created those beings that have opposed him. And so we serve then God, and we approach him, and we approach this conflict out of a sense not of our own power and our own authority, but out of a sense of God's authority. And so any power that we have over the spiritual realm flows not from within us, but really from the nature of our relationship with Christ, and it is the authority of Jesus Christ. And so we don't want to forget the spiritual realm exists, but we also don't want to get into this sort of panic mode where we think that we have to see a demon behind every bush and always be fighting and trying to do this ourselves, because Jesus Christ is our authority. So we're aware of it. We don't get obsessed with it. We also, as this passage sort of unfolds, Jesus says, hey, look, that victory, that's cool, that's awesome, and Jesus wins. But the reality is that your joy should not come over the excitement of that here and now victory, but really in the eternal scope of things. The fact that you are my people and that your name is written in this book of life, that you are welcomed into heaven, so to speak. And so we fix our eyes then not on what is seen and around us and intangible, or even what is right now, but we fix our eyes on eternity with God and on the things of his Spirit. So we also remember as we do this, Dan made the point that salvation is for the humble, it's not for the arrogant. Again, this brings us back to the place where we, before Christ, are more or less nothing. We're recipients of his love and of his grace. And so we receive that, and in the instant that we start thinking that we deserve that, we lose sight of the gospel, we lose sight of grace, and we fall into this incredible trap of trying to earn our salvation, which is impossible. So there's a lot really going on here. We want you to be cognizant of the fact that there is a spiritual battle, but that Jesus has already won. One of the reasons that we want you to be cognizant of this is because it is very easy to be deceived by evil when we are not in step with the Spirit and when we're not really grounded in God's word. And I say that, and you probably think, well, I'm not being deceived by Satan. But the point of deception is that if you knew you were being deceived, you wouldn't actually be deceived. And so we keep our eyes open, assuming that there is someone out there who's opposing God and is trying to sneak things in past us, which makes it all the more important for us to know God and to know his word and to walk in close communion with him. So, in terms of practical considerations this week, I want you to consider the power of tradition. The Old Testament is just packed with tradition that God gave the Israelites to help them remember. And it did that in many ways. It helped them to understand who God was and to remember, but it also brought this tremendous sense of unity among the nation of Israel. They were all bound together by these same customs, by these same repeated actions that they did that reminded them of God. And as your life group seeks together to pursue God, it is incredibly important that you have that sense of unity, that we are on this mission together, that we are seeking God together, and we're seeking actually to be used by him as a group. And you can leverage then tradition in order to help build some of that unity. Tonight, actually, for our life group is bacon night. Every once in a while, we'll have a night where every part of the meal that we share together has to have bacon in it. And it's a big deal. It's not spiritually grounded by any means, but it's something that gives our group a sort of shared excitement and joy, and periodically when it comes up again and again, it sort of sucks our group back together. And it's something that really has helped build unity among us. We want to encourage you to create some traditions of your own within your group. This might be a monthly fun night or a bi-monthly prayer night where you just gather together for prayer. It might be a day at the park. It might be a picnic. It might be who knows what. But something that you as a group can do periodically that you all identify with, that you say, this is something that our group does together that makes us uniquely us. Doesn't matter so much what the ritual is, as long as it is designed to help you feel like you are a group being used of God together, and that you're pursuing God together, and that you're really serving God together. So that unity just serves to reinforce what God does within community, which is encouragement and rebuke and correction. It's iron sharpening iron, and that can't happen if you're not close, typically. And some of the just great ways to build that unity is by tradition. So find your tradition, get something started if you haven't already. Talk to some people in your group, come up with a great idea, and we look forward to hearing what sort of dividends it pays out in terms of your group growing closer together. I hope you've enjoyed this week's section, and we will see you again back here next week. Take care, and God bless.